Hello! Toy Fair. Yes, I recently went to a toy fair here in Norwich, and I had a wander round and bought various cheap but interesting items. And you know what? I'm going to show them to you now. And they're pretty much all action figures, except for the couple at the start, which are weird rubber things. Let us begin with the most mysterious purchases. It's a save! No, it isn't. It's not Batman. So, this was a very interesting find for me because I saw it on a table and thought, oh my God, look, it's not Batman, it's Hairy Snake Man. Look at the texture on it, it's so weird. But I saw it on the table and didn't recognise it. I thought, picked it up. And as soon as I touched it, suddenly this weird texture, which makes him look like he's covered in a million worms or something, as soon as I touched it, it brought back a memory that I had one of these as a child. And I didn't actually twig until the texture memory hit me. And I was there with my friend Oliver, and I showed it to Oliver, and he said, oh my God, I had one of those as a kid. So obviously these were fairly common, shall we say, back in the day. This is quite a nice example of one. He's worn away some cowl nose paint there. He's got no Batman ears because he's not Batman. He's Hairy Snake Man, obviously. But yeah, it's just as made in China, and that's your lot. It appears to well, I don't know why I said appears. I mean, it's quite obviously a rip-off of one of the mid-70s Ben Cooper figures. This company called Ben Cooper made a lot of rubber figures of superheroes and stuff, and this is kind of a knockoff of the Batman one, I think. But I can tell you no more about it, except you can see his bum a bit more prominently through the back than I personally would like. Personally, if I'm going to have a Hairy Snake Man figure, I want the least amount of bum possible. But that's just me. Yeah, I have no real answer for this one because it's so obviously Batman. It's even got the little spikes on the gloves there. But they've just made such bizarre changes. Do they really think this is enough to make it legally distinct? Because I've got a bit of experience in media stuff, and I'll tell you what, I don't think it is. But there we are. You sit over there and we'll pretend you never existed. Because Hulk is mad. Look how mad he is. Hulk, unreasonably angry about all things. Yes, that's kind of the point of the Incredible Hulk, to be fair. So this appears to be a knockoff as well. There's no markings on it whatsoever except made in Hong Kong, or technically Hong Kong made in. But I'm sure that works around the other way. And he's just a very rubbery boy, really, is how you can describe it. I love the way he looks so absolutely incandescent with rage, though. I mean, that is exactly what you want from a Hulk. But, yeah, it's a bit basic. I should point out, by the way, he does have one weirdly bruised purple arm, and that's where I think it's been in a bag for a long time next to something made of black plastic, and sort of the colour has leaked into the weird rubber a bit. Either that, or he's just been punching too many walls and bruised his whole arm. It is possible. It's a hell of a figure, this. I hate the sort of weird, oh God, thing where they've cut it out of the mould at the back there. The paint doesn't quite match the trousers and blah, 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 blah. But my God, angry face is so good. Just sheer hatred. I think, if anything, he's a little bit too far gone for the Incredible Hulk. Bless him. Look, you need to calm down, mate. Go do some yoga. Do a crossword puzzle. It's actually probably not a crossword puzzle, a word search. That'll be easier. Deep breaths, and then I still won't care about you. Is that clear? Excellent. Right, you can go over there with your... God, it's so bloody rubbery. It's such an odd figure, that one. Right, let's get something a little more mainstream. Morning. It's only Bloth, everybody's favourite villain from the Pirates of Darkwater. He's pretty much the villain from the Pirates of Darkwater. I'm sure he had henchmen. I can't bloody remember. Yeah, this was a series from late 80s, early 90s. I want to say the figure's from 1991. And yeah, a character called Bloth. He was an evil pirate. If you don't remember the Pirates of Darkwater, kind of one of those eco-friendly cartoons. Bit Captain Planty, but it was all set in some sort of quasi sort of... I don't know, Middle Eastern feeling pirate setup, I suppose. And the whole thing was there was bad, black, polluted water that was killing everyone, and the good guys were trying to stop it, and Bloth was trying to make more of it because he's a fucking idiot. I don't know. I can't remember the cartoon much, but I do remember the beautiful design of Mr. Bloth here. The weird thing was, he had the strangest voice. He spoke like this. Hello, my name is Bloth. I'm totally lying. He spoke nothing like that whatsoever. Of course he didn't. But he's got very loose trousers and really gross toenails from his horrible sands. Like, go and get yourself a pedicure or something. Absolutely grotesque. Yeah, I like this. It's a nice chunky, solid figure. What annoys me, though, each hand has a hole in it for an accessory. He only came with one, like this crappy little gold scimitar thing, or cutlass, I suppose. He also came with like a sort of cape thing that went over, just like a cloth thing over here, but that's missing. Still looks pretty cool without it, though. That you do kind of ask yourself, how on earth is his shoulder armour staying on? Has he got glue in his pauldrons, children? But there we are. I quite like Bloth. Bloth can go in a drawer and I'll forget about him, and then I'll remember in 5 years' time and go, oh, look, everyone, it's Bloth. That's your future, Bloth. There's no escaping it now. Right, you going over there, because here's a figure which I've got a load from this series. I've never even seen this one before, actually, in the flesh. Lord Dread. Lord Dread. Lord Dread. He looks like a supply teacher with cyborg bits. It's Lord Dread. He is the villain from Captain Power. Was there a subtitle on that? Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future or something? I can't remember. From 1987. His weapon was like a weird sword with a plumbing attachment. I'm frankly quite glad that didn't come with him because it was shite. But he is the big villain from Captain Power. Captain Power being a weird live-action TV series, I believe mostly written by J. Michael Straczynski, who went on to do Babylon 5. And if I recall, he did He-Man beforehand. He was on He-Man, wasn't he? Oh, I can't remember. But the important thing is, this guy has still got his cape, which is very important to me. Because look, it comes off and you can put it on other figures. Oh, I feel so naked without my cloak. Now I feel better again. There was a whole episode about that, you know, Captain Power. No, there wasn't. I'm lying. Yeah, I quite like these figures. They've got quite extreme articulation. Not quite G.I. Joe, but getting there. And there's something quite pleasingly toy-like about them. Nice little things that can sit in the weird vehicles. And the vehicles were weird. You would actually hold them up to the television while the show was on, and at certain points, things that appeared in the show would, like, set off parts of the toy into certain frequencies or whatever, I suppose, and like lights would flash and it'd go pew 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 and stuff. It was a bad idea. It cost them a fortune to make the toys and it didn't catch on, but hey, it's interesting to look back at now. Right, Lord Dread, you go over there with all your robot sky sentries and things you had back in the day. Do you know, I've just remembered something really good about Captain Power. I've got to mention, in Captain Power, canonically, Captain Power's real name is Captain Power. Like, Power is his birth surname. And if I remember, there was a really good sequence where the other characters find out, the other good guys, they're like, really? I was assumed that was a name you'd come up with. You're really called Mr. Power. Yeah. That's all I remember about that show, other than never seeing the toys until 15 years after it was off the internet. But they were always in Argos, if you're British and of a certain age. Anyway, here's Kang the Conqueror. Morning, Kang. You're right, Chuck. How you doing? Yeah, I'm all right. Cheers. How's you? Not so bad. Been doing a lot of conquering. It's been fun. It's fun. When do I get to be in the Marvel Universe? Well, you kind of are, actually. Oh, that's cool, isn't it? And that was our discussion with Kang the Conqueror. So, this is Kang from the Secret Wars line from 1984. Infamous for reusing a lot of parts. I think pretty sure these are Iron Man's arms, just painted differently, in fact. What is of interest here is the harness is not actually part of the figure. I never realised that. It's sort of an accessory. All of these figures from Secret Wars, where all the heroes and villains were snuffled away to battle planets by the Beyonder or something. I can't remember. All had a big fight or something. I remember back in the day I had the Spider-Man figure, because it was the only one you could buy in the shops at the time, and the Doctor Doom figure. I also remember the Baron Zemo figure looking really like Spider-Man, wearing a weird coat. Because their heads were very similar on the figures. But there we are. They all came with a secret shield, which was just like a big square shield that had some sort of lenticular, vaguely moving image in it. Not very exciting. But I quite like these when they come up cheap. I've got several of them. There's something, again, pleasingly toy-like and of a certain era about them. But they're not... they do lose a lot of points for serious reuse of parts, which reminds me, need to do a video on the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves toys at some point. If you want reuse of parts, hoo boy. Right, Kang, you go and conquer over there. If I remember at the time, Kang's, because he turned out to be Nathaniel Richards or something, due to time travel shenanigans or extra dimensions. I can't bloody remember. I think at the time it was just sort of a secret who he was. It was always real name, unknown. Oh, an air of mystery. So they got rid of the air of mystery with about 14 spin-off comics, I imagine. So... Oh my god, Street Sharks. From 1995, this one's called Rocks, and apparently had like a really 80s guitar, which he rocked out with. Dude! Got some hella hair going on. And yeah, Street Sharks were half human, half shark, all massive plastic lump and all grotesque, so I quite enjoyed them for that reason. If my friend Matthew is watching this, yes, Matthew, I have bought this to give to you. We used to do a podcast together called The Sequelizers. Sequelizers still going as a podcast. And there was a running joke about his team being called Street Sharks for an entire series of it. And as a result, when I see a street shark, it goes to Matthew, even if it is as clearly beautiful as this one. Yes, you can't argue with that. Rocks, and yes, Rocks is spelt R-O-X, because God has forsaken us. Dearie me, what a joy. Incidentally, if you like podcasts, I'm on a new one with Claire Lim. Look, I'll link it down below. It's called Real Imagined Futures, which has existed before, but we're doing it now. And basically, we go through like a classic film and then just make up what the characters did after the film. Here's a hint. It involves a lot of therapy for most of them. Anyway, it's a good laugh. Have a listen. Rocks here is... Oh, the overly muscled back is a bit free. It's very rubbery, this, with like a sort of... It's very odd, because hard limbs, sort of hard hip piece as well. But this is just kind of very rubbery indeed, bless. Right, you go over there, and I'm going to have to turn my phone off because it's making noises and annoying me. Jump cut, which is annoying because there was actually quite a good segue into the next figures. For you see this shark's beautiful plume of hair, his beautiful mane, and in no way... mangy. God, it feels like dirty hair. How does it get like this? It's not even real hair. It's artificial. I hope it's not real hair. Ugh, there's a conspiracy theory I don't want to think about. Right, anyway, reminds me a bit of troll dolls. And I tell you what, there was a period in the early 90s where troll dolls were all the bloody rage, especially weird spin-off ones like Stone Protectors, which were like troll warriors, and then a load of others as well. I didn't find any Stone Protectors, but I did find... I was about to say the next best thing, but frankly, with the faces on these, I think these are better. Who likes troll warriors? Hopefully everybody, after they've seen this bastard. This is the stuff, isn't it? 1992, and all these figures came packaged with tattoos. You know, like temporary tattoos you put on your skin, not like a big syringe full of ink. That'd be a bit dangerous for the kids, that one. So yeah, it came with some red club weapons or something, but... What a face, and what a haircut. Obviously, it's a troll doll. We know how that goes, but I do like his jolly expression. You right, mate? Do you want a cup of tea? That's literally all he says, but when he says it, he means it. But the best thing about this is, you can rotate the arms like this. Hey! Absolutely fantastic. Oh, look at that. Saw that in real life? You'd just marry it immediately, wouldn't you? You wouldn't have any choice in the matter. Incidentally, this character's name is Lars the Protector. Lars. Oh, Stone Protectors. Lars the Protector. Stone Protectors. Lars the Protector. Who knows? Maybe there's a connection. It's probably just a bloody coincidence, though. But I love his bright pink smiley face and his mad staring eyes and his come at me bro kind of pose there. Lars. You can go in the middle next to Angry Hulk. In front of Angry Hulk, in fact. Now we're going to move over to a slightly different sort of troll that I bought. A battle troll. Specifically, Bullseye Troll from about 1992. He's not quite as welcoming and beautiful as Lars there, but we'll let him off. He's got his beautiful shock of bright yellow hair, and he's not covered his arse at all. That is not what I didn't notice that. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Fortunately, he's covered the bits at the front. He's got crappy open-toed sandals. He's got yellow metal bands around his arms. He's got a nose ring, and he's got a very, very weirdly coloured bloodshot eye. In fact, this whole thing is weirdly coloured, and let me explain why. This is Bullseye Troll, which came with some sort of vehicle that had like a net thing it fired. But actually, it's just a recoloured standard troll doll from the line. Oh, a recoloured troll clops. In fact, even in the write-up that it gives on the side, it says, this is Troll Clop's identical cousin. Not that identical, he's a completely different colour. Trollcrops is like, not bright red, shall we say. But there's a nice bit of detailing on this. Little horns there, a bit of stitch on the face, and all that kind of stuff. But it's, very sort of dog toy in the sort of squishy feel of it. Whereas old Lars here is solid plastic. Look at that, he'd stop a bullet that was incredibly low caliber and had fired from a long way away. But let's not worry about that. Now, long-time viewers of Ashens will be sick to the fucking back teeth of me, but also they may remember the internet troll. Oh God, he's rotated weirdly. There he is. Here he is in all his glory. Oh, that's all he can do. Yes, the internet troll. It's got a Space Invader on. Bizarre expression and a massive mane of hair, and that, I don't really know how to describe this figure. It's a difficult one, this. We don't really know where it's from, even all these years later. We thought it was one of Simba Toys Troll Fighters. When I looked into it, it isn't. The body is a Masters of the Universe rip-off figure from Sun Gold, I think. And at one point, a company has stuck a troll head on it. Or maybe they just copied the body. I don't know. When you get into these bootleg stuff, it's very hard to tell, after you get a few layers down, who made what with whom, for which market, or whatever. But all I know is, I love him so much. That's it. There we are. He can see into your soul, but he doesn't really understand. Anyway, obviously I've had this one around a while, but I got a new one, folks. Oh, yes! This is not from the same line due to his mad staring red eyes, but I love this one. The body looks far more sort of God, what were those figures called? Galaxy Warriors? Yeah, something like that. But I think this figure is actually a Troll Force Ninja from 1992. Actually came with like a sock thing you put over for a ninja mask, like that, and all the hair was hidden underneath. But as you can see, as child at some points presumably has pulled a lot of his hair out, leaving him with this thing. My internal canon here is that this is the internet troll in his old age. He's just become sick of life and everything, and half his hair's fallen out and it's all gone white, and he's just like, oh, I've wasted my life in online hatred. But there we are. That's your bloody fault, mate. But tell you what's good. He's got enough hair left for a comb over. Yes! You've got away with it, mate. Looks like a certain politician I can think of. That's right, Clement Attlee. No, yeah, that's a hell of a thing. Oh man, when I saw this, I just had to have it. I don't know what the earth they thought I was doing on the stall, buying it when his half the hair's missing. Actually, they probably didn't give a shit. They were selling it. Yeah, why am I getting the blame in this situation? But what a beauty. There's a real shame, though. I do wonder if at some point this has actually been cut rather than pulled out. And I say that because all the little fibres of it go off. The sofa, as you can probably see, is covered with them now. I'm going to have to do a troll clean-up afterwards. The worst type of clean-up of them all. Anyway, let's get on to the final figure I got. Now, I was so pleased to get this. It was super cheap as well. It was like one of these buy two for £3 pots of sort of random figures. So I have always wanted a figure from a line called C.B. McCall. C.B. McCall, actually a better way to pronounce it, which is like a late 70s line based on Truckers after that Convoy song got in the charts. And there's a load of different figures. What I really wanted was one of the sort of villainous Truckers from it. And I haven't got that, unfortunately, but I've got a figure based on it with the same head and very similar setup. Welcome, everyone. Professor Brain is here, except it's not really Professor Brain. So the C.B. McCall figure was called Professor Brain. Quite why a sort of weird evil thug trucker would be called Professor Brain, I don't know, because he's got a slightly elongated cranium. So it doesn't look that far off to me. I mean, you know, if he had like a giant head or something like the leader from Incredible Hulk, that'd be a bit different. But anyway, this specific figure is actually from 1979's Chips range. So Chips, very popular TV show about the California Highway Patrol with Ponch, or Ponce. No, it was definitely Ponch. I can't imagine calling a heroic character Ponce. Played by Eric Estrada, if I remember, was sort of the main guy. There was another one with blonde hair, I can't remember. Anyway, they had a range of very nicely articulated Mego figures. But Mego, being Mego, were kind of the masters of reusing parts. And so many parts of the old CB McCall line ended up as villains in chips, and this specific villain is no longer... oh god, and he got the names the wrong way around and ruined everything. He's no longer Professor Brain, he is now Jimmy Squeaks. Jimmy Squeaks. Hello, I'm Jimmy, and my god do I squeak! There we are, he was trying to be threatening, which just didn't work. Unfortunately, he's lost a thumb, but I can live with that. Now, what's interesting is these figures kind of didn't come with accessories, and yet have one hand that is very much ready for an accessory, and also dangerously close to the crotch area for the poses. He kind of gets away with it, but there we are. The CB McCall figures had bent legs and kind of didn't quite get away with the pose so much, shall we say. Yeah, we won't go into details on that, but Mego did a lot of that. They even did superheroes with similar poses that, frankly, don't bear thinking about. But there we are. I may not have a CB McCall figure, but I do have Jimmy Squeaks, and frankly, is good enough. And finally, here's a figure I did not buy the other week. I actually got this one when I was in Canada from an excellent little toy store we went to. And it's Roscoe. Sheriff Roscoe Coltrane from the Dukes of Hazzard. Here he is. Another Mego figure. I mean, I think actually the legs are pretty much identical. Then I think the shoes might be a bit different. No, I'm not sure they are, actually, after looking at them. I think the legs are the same. Yeah, basically, TV show about the good old boys will never mean no harm or whatever. I can barely remember it, but he was like the comedy sheriff trying to stop their moonshine antics, whatever the hell it was it did. I can't really remember. But here he is. And the reason I'm showing him is it's the same bloody pose, look. But unfortunately, how can we put this politely? It's... video ends now.
Subscribe for more.